We are Adam Zhou from Harvard University and Doil Han, Taeyoon Kim, and Hyeokjun Kim from Korea University. And our advisor is Professor Jiye Baek from Korea University, and our company of interest is SM Entertainment. Grab anyone on the streets and ask them to name the top K-pop groups of a certain decade. In the 1990s, they'll say HOT and SES. In the 2000s, it was Girls' Generation and TVXQ. In the 2010s, they'll say EXO and Red Velvet. Throughout the 30 years of K-pop history, many individuals have dedicated themselves to debuting a superstar. Yet SM has always secured its position as one of the top 3 firms in the industry. Considering this, for the past month, we've delved into SM Entertainment to answer this question. In a world where continuous pivoting and company changes are becoming more commonplace due to environmental contexts, how can a company continue to stay ahead of the curve in differentiating itself?
To answer this, let's begin with SM Entertainment's company background. The story of SM Entertainment goes back to the 1980s, when its current owner and founder, Lee Soo-man, was greatly impressed by America's pop culture and dreamed of becoming an entertainment planner. In 1989, he founded SM Studio, branded as SM Entertainment in 1995. The popularization of HOT, SES, and BoA helped create the backbone for today's SM. SM's business model of bringing up singers and talents has produced successful graduates who are now world-renowned. SM has founded a company called Starlight Academy System in 2003 for this sole purpose, later known as SM Rookies. This business model can be defined in 5 sections: R&D, supply, production, distribution, and marketing. SM, like many other firms, has gone through many thresholds. However, SM has thought differently that has enabled them to be what it is today. We'll be guiding you through this miraculous journey, starting off with the Korean wave. This advent is undoubtedly one of the defining features of our modern-day global culture phenomenon, especially regarding K-pop. Yet its true emergence outside of the Korean borders couldn't have been done without SM Entertainment. Before the Korean wave, the number of entertainment releases produced day by day made the domestic market more and more saturated. As reported in 2021, there are more than 1,500 entertainment firms in Korea today, and the top 19 collectively hold 87% of total market share. To circumvent the growing competition in Korea, SM first made the move to export K-pop to other nations, thus becoming an early entrant in markets that were untouched by other competitors and introducing a niche of its own. The 2 initial geographies, namely that of Japan and China, are undoubtedly a huge milestone. Firstly, the Japanese entertainment industry was clearly ideal. New consumer bases were being created through the consumption of Korean dramas and the presence of ties between SM and Japanese management firms, which helped SM reach out to a larger audience. Therefore, penetrating into the Japanese market was a plausible choice for further artist recognition. The licensing contract with SM and Avex in November 2000 consolidated the deal with cross-channel marketing. Songs released only a few months later by idols such as BoA turned out to be massive successes, all reaching peaks of the esteemed Oricon charts. One of BoA's albums still ranks 3rd on these charts. The combination of cultural context-tailored artists and planned product localization enabled the successful market penetration. In the case of China in the 1990s, the country opened up its borders, and consumers were starting to gain interest in foreign cultures. Furthermore, the economy flourished with more exports made, and the increased disposable income led to the increase in cultural spending. It too was an ideal market for SM to penetrate. Collaborations in the Chinese market paved the path for greater artist recognition. Marketing schemes really made this environment prosper, with contract signing with French fashion brand Lacoste, which helped them participate in its first collection. Korean cosmetic brand Misha also utilized TVXQ as their exclusive model, drawing global attention.
However, as new entrants started to penetrate the K-pop market, SM encountered another milestone to overcome, namely with the collective growth of the industry. This is when SM had to differentiate. As SM grew, so did its strategic position, and upon exponential scaling, did it really allow for SM to emerge as a powerful competitive entity in the space. 2 strategies stand out in particular. Firstly, it pioneered a model of commodification, positioning bands as brands. For each artist, SM assigns a theme that carries throughout all their songs. SM not only created more commercial opportunities with this strategy, but also built a universe of their own centered around the artist, referred to as SM Culture Universe, or SMCU in short. This allowed for a flexible and agile approach to the business. Instead of being tethered to the old mass-produced love songs, SM creatively utilized the brands and built on a unique differentiating factor against other competitors. Furthermore, the variety of artist IP types maximize the positive same-side network effect and increased productive capacity. The trickle-down effect of brand reputation led to successes in streaming services, game industries, as well as tourism. Branding the bands also led the way to the extension of the idol intellectual property's useful life, avoiding the loss of revenue growth when idols retired by maintaining a steady stream of viral content. Existing fans still came to the band's events and streams and engaged in their outreach when the coherent brand image was maintained, resulting in unprecedented figures. As with NCT, for instance, new members are periodically added to the group, so member changes can occur naturally without the entire group retiring. Whereas there was only 6 members at debut in 2016, there are currently 23 total members in NCT, divided into subgroups. Unlike what some individuals say about the popularity of the group waning with new members added, the number of NCT albums sold show explosive growth, especially from 2019 to 2021, with a CAGR of 286%. Secondly, SM experimented with a lot of cross-group and internal content creation, using permutations of artists to create a new sense of branding. For instance, it utilized a strategy of taking members from its various groups to create a new variation, leading to an intersection of its various fan bases, and hence its expansion. Got the Beat, for one, takes 7 members from 4 different groups. The cross-group collaboration enables fans to grow loyal to SM, leading to greater long-term consumption of the artists. For internal content creation, SM showed the remastering project. Dreams Come True, which was originally sang by SM's SES in 1998, was republished by SM's latest artist group, aespa. With Dreams Come True, SM took advantage of nostalgia and the retro culture that appealed to the older consumers of K-pop. The remastering project not only enabled for the revitalization of old intellectual properties, but it also attracted old fans of SES to gain interest in aespa as well, leading to an indirect cross-group collaboration and thus an increase in fans' loyalty to SM.
The final milestone of COVID-19 has forced many industries to change. The K-pop industry was no exception to this. What SM did is once again the result of setting itself apart, digitization. The subsequent SM as the most adaptive player after M&As, partnerships, and stock acquisitions made to strengthen its position moving forward. SM, along with Naver, launched the Beyond Live virtual concert brand with the debut of the project boy band Super M. It also formed a joint venture for virtual concerts titled Beyond Live Corporation, which saw collaborations of groups like Twice. Another notable introduction is the mobile fan community, where fans can keep in touch with artists of their choice, called Dear You Listen. This grew to include prominent agencies including Jellyfish and FNC Entertainment. Many more exciting things are yet to come. Even though SM has successfully differentiated itself from its competitors and taken charge of the market, there are still many challenges ahead of them. The first challenge is the political risk. Note should be taken that Korea is finding it more difficult to balance its neutral stance between multiple countries without getting involved in political conflicts due to its geographical location. China specifically is a special market with its socialist regime and inflexible policies, which almost immediately inflicts negative effects on the export and import revenue of the target nation. In 2016, the CCP initiated an anti-Korean wave policy that discouraged Chinese consumers from consuming Korean goods. The proportion of album export revenue dropped by 24%. Therefore, China is an especially risky source of revenue, so we believe SM should try to diversify its markets in the long run. One geography where this diversification should be modeled in is the US, where with BTS at the forefront, the K-pop culture quickly permeated. Total exports to the US market surpassed that of the Southeast Asian market back in 2019 and was reported as the 3rd biggest importer of K-pop in 2021, despite slow growth up to 2016. This was done through local collaboration, like with MGM Worldwide TV, a global entertainment firm from the US to produce NCT Hollywood, a unit group specifically targeting the American market. SM also faces the situation of David and Goliath in its digitization stage, with Dear You facing Weverse launched by Hybe. Currently, YG and Hybe utilize Weverse, and with SM and JYP using Dear You. Both platforms are currently competing heavily in the artist-to-fan market. However, at current rates, it is very probable that Weverse will take precedence in the market over Dear You due to the sheer size of its combined fandoms. The top 13 most followed K-pop artists are all part of YG and HYBE, and the first SM or JYP related artist only comes at 15th, with 15 million less followers compared to the most followed artist, Lisa of Blackpink. According to Metcalfe's law, the value of a platform exponentially increases as the number of users grow. From this law, we can understand that SM is clearly the David, hence SM must find strategies to further develop competitive advantages to defeat Goliath. With intense competition between DearU and Weverse, we recognize the growing importance of entering B2B markets within the entertainment value chain. Just like how BTS Army bought Weverse a relative advantage in user volume, the B2C and B2B businesses have massive influences on each other. As aforementioned, securing a foothold in the B2B market will in turn allow the firm to reap benefits regardless of whichever artist grows in popularity. In fact, SM only contributes to 64% of DearU's revenue. The rest comes from other clients such as JYP and Jellyfish Entertainment. Hence, we believe that investing in B2B businesses more and expanding out to more B2B businesses from DearU is an essential step in ensuring the long-term success of SM. It will also help to diversify the risk of artist-reliant demand in SM's current revenue structure.
All in all, we do believe that SM will continue to be the market leader. A growing number of new content producers threaten SM's position, and the rise of BTS has shown that artist-reliant business models cannot ensure high market share and revenue in the long term. As long as it organizes more foreign artist collaborations and invests in B2B business models, SM will gradually grow its competitive advantage against existing competitors and new entrants by utilizing their existing artist IPs. Furthermore, the pandemic has further emphasized the need to diversify revenue streams. Now, during such a drastic turning point with future technological developments, it is even more imperative to research case studies like SM and determine whether its current roadmap can lead its way to future successes. Moving forward, the digitization of entertainment firms is sure to further innovate the K-pop industry. With notable market moves, including the ongoing partnering with Sandbox, the world's largest metaverse platform, and Binance, a cryptocurrency firm, SM is trying to better position itself in the metaverse. Its business strategy parallels its previous entry into foreign markets, and just like any other Web 3.0 entrants, the future that it holds is boundless and exciting. Only time will tell how SM will do, but with careful systems thinking analysis and thorough market understanding, it is sure to be promising. Finally, we would like to share two key lessons that we learned while researching SM. Going back to our key question of how can a company continue to stay ahead of the curve in differentiating itself, we have figured out the most effective strategy for firms operating with IPs as their main product would be value chain integration. Considering how IPs can only generate revenue through interactions within the network, it is critical to adopt value chain integration in order to expand the collaboration and communication within the network. Internalizing relevant business operations of the value chain can strengthen the firm's supply chain management in the long term, enabling the firm to leverage their supply chain to grow their influence in the market. Furthermore, the firm can diversify their revenue streams like DearU and benefit from the industry growth regardless of the market leader. The importance of value chain integration can also expand to over-the-top media service industries, which also competes with IPs. At the same time, a rapid yet underprepared expansion can cause harm in maximizing the advantage of being the frontrunner. In retrospect, SM's first moving market penetration into Japan and China was entirely beneficial to the Korean wave, but SM lost its ground as the sole victor. This has essentially benefited competitors as they were able to capitalize on untouched niches. We believe that SM, being the first mover into the market, should have at least grown its influence before anything else, and this should be harmonized with value chain integration strategy. The improvement in preparation and awareness of rising threats within an industry will help SM thrive in a market that still has potential for growth. Thank you for listening.